Mr. Chairman, my name is Bameyi Vidieno. I represent YPP, Young Progressives Party. We have also seen the news, and we wish to inform you that we are not part of that. We're here for the collation. Thank you.
My name is Zephaniah Gisalo. I'm a member of NRM agent. We are not part of that. We are associated with them. Thank you. We are not part of workout. Thank you.
No, let them say they have confidence.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Ina Okopiago. I represent the African Action Congress. We're not part of the party that walked out. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Babatunde Adedapo Olufemi. I'm here to represent Accord. Accord dissociated itself from this arrangement, working out of this collection center.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I remain Barrister Chief Kenneth Udeze. In law, we say res ipsa loquitur. The first speak for you, so you are seeing me live and direct, so I didn't stage any workout.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I am Air Vice Marshal Ibrahim Umaru, representing the Nigeria People's Party, New Nigeria People's Party. We are not part of that workout. Thank you very much. We are still here with you.
Good evening, sir. My name is Mohamed Kabir Umar. I'm here representing Boot Party. We are here. I did not work out, sir.
Who you want to talk again?
The woman.
Good afternoon, Chairman. Barrister Mrs. Ayatoba Juliet, supporting my colleague from PRP. You are seeing us live and direct.
My name is Williams Moses. I'm supporting my colleague here, YPP. We're here live and direct.
Well, for us in the All Progressive Congress, we have confidence in the process, and we are here with you to see it through. We are not part of any boycott, walkout, or revolt as some have done. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Mohamed Dirisu Isa, NRM Collation agent. We are here with you. We are confident in the process. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Until the APM, we are here with you, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Honorable Muhammad Lawan Nalado, National Chairman of Accord and representing Accord. We believe in the process and we are not working out. We are after one Nigeria and believe our coming together here to support Nigeria, that is what we stand for. Thank you very much.
That prayer is equivalent to 1 year of
Mr. Chairman, my name is Venimbe A. James, National Secretary, Action Alliance. We are with you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Lagos is ready. May I invite the resident electoral commissioner of Lagos to introduce himself, and for the collation officer for Lagos to introduce herself and present the result. Rec Lagos.
Thank you, sir. My name is Olusegun Agbaje, Resident Electoral Commissioner, Lagos State.
Thank you. My name is Professor Adenike Oladije, the Vice Chancellor, Federal University of Technology, Akure. I am the State Collation Officer for the presidential election of 25th February 2023 in Lagos State. And with me is Mr. Olusegun Agbaje, the Resident Electoral Commissioner for Lagos State. The results for the presidential election held on the 25th February 2023 in Lagos State are as follows. Number of registered voters 7060195. 7060195. Number of accredited voters 1347152. 1347152. Total number of votes received by the presidential candidates of each of the political parties are as follows. A, 3069. 3069. AA, 498. 498. AAC, 1597. 1597. ADC, 5789. 5789. ADP, 2439. 2439. APC, 572606. 572606. APGA, 2316. 2316. APM, 709. 709. APP, 371. 371. BP, 1837. 1837. LP, 582454. 582454. NNPP, 8442. 8442. NRM, 609. 609. PDP, 75750. 75750. PRP, 1120. 1120. SDP, 772. 772. YPP, 1109. 1109. ZLP, 9964. 9964. Total valid votes 1271451. 1271451. Rejected votes 64278. 64278. Total votes cast 1335729. 1335729.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Any cancellations?
Yes.
Places where elections were not held, reasons?
Yes, there were cancellations. There were 3 local government areas affected by overvoting, 3 registration areas, and 9 polling units. The total number of registered voters in these areas is 5584. 5584.
Okay, thank you very much. Any comments, party leaders? Any observations, any comments for the scope? Okay, thank you very much, Vice Chancellor. Please step forward to present your result. Is Gombe ready? Okay, so Gombe will be next.
When I was reading news at family level, the guy was on consult. Engineer not a woman. Facility. When I now heard his program on Spotify, I have to find his number. Yeah, boss. Think about challenge I report on because it did not make the move. Nothing. So, son, please let us endeavor. There is in-house staff. Me, like this you serve to long national. Go to day 5 and cow. You believe we teamwork was for. Particularly we lose the first match one underrated. What fees and that. Second match.
Okay, next is Gombe State. The resident electoral commissioner is here with the scope to introduce herself, and the scope should introduce herself and present the result.
I am Umar Ibrahim, the resident electoral commissioner, Gombe State.
I am Professor Memuna Waziri, the Vice Chancellor, Federal University, Peshwa. I am the State Collation Officer for the presidential election of 25th February 2023 in Gombe State. The results for the presidential election held on 25th February 2023 in Gombe State are as follows. Party A scored 284.
Before the party, total number of registered voters, total number of accredited voters, and then you go to votes scored by parties.
The total number of registered voters, 157,594. 157,594. The total number of accredited voters, 542,999.
Fine. As a receiving station, start. The transmission. That's what you find talking about. Ọgbọ́n kí ni preparation táwọn kan lọ sí nílò tí wọ́n fẹ́ lò. You understand? Now, let's say March people kick start. The thing kan lè fi March ó bẹ̀rẹ̀ ní May 1st. But kí studio yẹn ti ready. Báwo ni wọ́n máa ṣe rehearsal? So that time tó máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ báyìí perfection yẹn máa ti wà bẹ́ẹ̀. Abẹ́rẹ́ gẹ́tì ìbọn tí mo sọ. Téèyàn bá fẹ́ bẹ̀rẹ̀ normal conventional TV, torí ẹ̀ ló jẹ́ pé testron yẹn wọ́n máa fi make sure pé perfection àwọn ẹni tó bá dúró stage tó máa gbé wọn set kò dàbí ẹni pé wọ́n jẹ́ new person àbí ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ dé ni wọ́n things like that. But I don't know wọ́n ṣe fẹ́ ṣe nǹkan wọn. Àwọn òkè èèyàn lè sọ
Six one. Party PDP 319123. 319123. Party PRP 384. 384. Party SDP 137. 137. Party YPP 439. 439. Party ZLP 969. 969. Total number of valid votes 510,043. 510,043. Total number of rejected votes 23735. 23735. Total votes cast 533,778. 533,778. Thank you, sir.
Okay, any places where elections were not held or cancelled?
Yes, sir. The total number of cancelled votes, 9640.
Okay, reasons for the cancellation? Number of registered voters in those areas?
Number of registered voters, 16162.
Any record of PVCs collected?
Yes, sir. The total number of PVCs collected, 9640. And reasons, you asked for reasons?
Yes.
Reasons for cancellation, overvoting, disruption, and refusal to use beavers. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Any comments on the Gombe report? Okay, thank you very much. Please step forward to present your result. Okay, thank you very much. We're expecting a few more states, but they are not so close by like the last two. So I suggest that we take a break and reconvene at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Thank you very much. So let's go.
All right, so there you go. A couple of states have also just been announced. Lagos, Gombe, amongst these states have just been recently announced. And so quite a number of developments, a couple of issues has panned out. Guys, what's caught your attention so far, really?
Very interesting results coming in from, well, I think some of them we already saw earlier. But one of the things that has caught my attention is the disparity between the registered voters and accredited voters. I think I've been monitoring that, and for quite a number of the states, oftentimes you will see that the number of, let me take Enugu for instance, where you had about 2 million registered voters. The number of accredited people was roughly about 480 something. So let's even summarize it and say it's 500,000. That's about a quarter of it. So 25%. But when you come to Lagos and you see that 7 million people registered to vote, and maybe about 6 million plus collected their PVCs according to what Inec released as a number of collected permanent voter cards. And then you now hear that only 1.3 plus million votes were accredited voters. There are big questions. It doesn't seem to follow that same, will I say, ratio that I have come to expect from the states. Normally you see a quarter of the registered voters, so maybe 25%. Lagos seems to be doing quite poorly in that regard. Can we really dismiss what it is that we saw? Some of the reports, even though people have said, oh, they were isolated cases of voter suppression in some places, and then the fact that voting materials did not really come in on time. Can we really say that these cases were really as isolated as we think they are? Let me come to you, Prof.
Well, you know, Lagos has always been the state with the lowest voter turnout rate. And the explanation has always been that there's a lot of vote suppression in Lagos. And so when you then look, because I was even thinking there will be a markup in this election, considering the level of mobilization, and then we also see how competitive the election was. You would have thought that voter turnout would have increased, but it seems that that is not the case even today. Well, because again, it has always been the case, it's difficult to attribute everything, you know, to the violence that occurred in multiple places. Perhaps a lot of people collect PVC, register for election, but are simply not interested in voting.
Can we safely reach that conclusion, Abosede?
Well, I mean, I think one of the things that's coming to my mind, even though, yes, we know that Inec did a great job around redistribution of polling units, so ideally, you know, your polling unit should be a walking distance. You know, there's a part of me that's thinking, in addition to maybe the fear of violence, because some people wouldn't even show up at all because they do have a fear of violence. But I'm thinking to myself, you know, this cash crunch and, you know, people actually sitting at home and saying, you know what, I can't even bother, right? This money that I would use to even, you know, make one step away. I mean, vehicles are not supposed to move and all of that. So I worry as to whether that's a real valid reason. But I think to his point, Lagos has not disappointed in terms of voter turnouts. It has just never been. But because of the additional, the new people who were registered, you would expect those numbers to go up. But I think that we're beginning to see a trend, and I think, you know, you would see it if you look at it, that while all of us were expecting that we'll be in the range of 50%, you know, I remember Shewa and the team doing a bet on that, and I think, you know, we're somewhere around 50%, you know. We're finding that we're around the same range of 30-something%. So,
Sorry, Sozi, why do you think, I mean, you were in charge of voter education, if I'm correct. That was okay. But I think when we really got to work with you was when you were in charge of voter education. What did you... Let's weigh what you experienced there and what you're seeing play out now and see how...
What's the missing link?
What's the missing link? What's missing? How is it that the apathy, the voter apathy, seem not to have changed in any way? I mean, some will feel like, forget this thing, my votes. A lot of people there, forget this thing, my votes won't count. And you hear people go like, it might be your one vote that will make the difference, but please. So now How would you think this will play? Is playing out and likely to play out in the next election?
The expectations were actually high that there will be a lot more people, and I had to caution that, look, don't start judging turnout based on the crowds that you're seeing now. Ultimately, to be when we look at the beavers to see how many people were actually accredited. There are lots of reasons, and I hope some little bit of research will be done into this. But some of the figures from the past may not be accurate, actually. May just not be accurate, because don't forget, before they had the electronic register, they had the dubious register, and you had so many people with different cards who were just, so when you see accreditation in those times, it was just by ticking in the register. So a lot of people just tick things in the register. So I don't think those figures are accurate. We must always put a rider when we compare present-day figures with previous figures.
So, sorry, if I may ask you, yes. Do we ever take out of those numbers, as in number of registered voters, do we ever take out some people, maybe they died, and have we ever had to do that?
Well, there's a process, and I've been in the studio, you've been here when we say there's a cleanup. And in the cleanup, people are supposed to indicate to Inec that certain people have died. There are many prominent people, for example, whose names are still on the register because nobody came. And Inec on its own cannot by itself
register anybody.
Remove somebody's names. There's some of their coincidence of names, for example. So, but we don't bother, and it's more systemic, more structural. The NPOPC, the National Population Commission, is supposed to register births, register deaths, and there's a linkage between the two. They've been trying to collaborate and cooperate, so that automatically, when they have data, they just send this ones over to Inec. But that hasn't happened, and people don't just bother. None of us on this table, for example, I'm sure we've always lost somebody or the other. I don't think any of us has gone to Inec and at any time doing cleanup.
That's very true.
To say, please. My grandfather died, or I had a close friend who died. None of us has done that.
Has INEC even provided a platform for people to send in notices, for instance, and say, hey, my grandfather died, my grandmother died?
Channels TV, amongst responsible, reasonable organizations, media organizations, have even talked about cleanup. We've come here to discuss these issues, the cleanup of the register.
So that when we talk about cleanup, oftentimes what people imagine is that, they're removing multiple names, more people who registered multiple times. But people don't usually think of deaths. I mean, now that you've mentioned, I'll come and check if my late mother's name is still on that register. It could be a possibility.
Yes.
And it is significant, because otherwise we will still keep seeing this disparity between the number of registered voters for a state and also, but even then, the turnout. 1.3 million. Do you think we need to interrogate further? Do you think that there needs to be further interrogation as to, because I know that Lagos, they had a number of issues, in some polling went into the night in many polling state units. There were places where the beavers did not work as it should, at least in good time. There are places where there were even claims of they ran out of ballot papers. That sort of situation, and I do not know how many, maybe those kinds of reports, I mean, I don't know if there's a way that INEC also takes some of these reports much later to be able to interrogate what actually transpired. I mean, for instance, how can they run out of ballot papers if you have this certain number of registered voters? Shouldn't, preparations have been made for this? So shouldn't we be really interrogating this number of, I mean, for instance, I think it was the issue of Ekiti that the INEC chairman spoke about, and he was trying to clarify that there was no overvoting in Ekiti. In fact, he said, as a matter of fact, if there's anything, it does seem that there was undervoting. And a number of people will ask, how can undervoting happen? After all, it's not a situation where we did accreditation in the morning and then we're coming back for voting in the afternoon. Accreditation was supposed to happen simultaneously with voting. So you're done with your accreditation, then you go to vote. It was supposed to be that seamless. So why are we seeing a disparity between the figures of those accredited and those who went to vote? If they're not tallying, big questions to be asked there, Mr. Ozi.
Simple explanation, actually. There are 3 elections. I can choose not to vote in the presidential and keep my ballot paper. As simple as that. So yes, there's nothing wrong with undervoting. I could have chosen to vote only for the House of Reps. Or only for the Senate. I know the president said, I don't know the other people, I'm not interested in the other people. So that's very easy. The only problem, challenge occurs where there is overvoting, even by 1 vote. That's the only problem.
Do you think INEC should provide a box where, I mean, we've talked about what they call that now, the tide we're seeing is affecting some of the legislative, seats that are, now emerging. And for some people, it was, as long as I'm voting this party for president, then is that party all the way. In some instances, some people just came to the realization, oh my God, I don't even know who is running for House of Reps or who's running for Senate in this particular situation. Some people have argued that perhaps we should have a box that, says no choice or no candidate for that particular election. What's your thoughts on that?
You can drop a blank ballot. It shows that you don't have chosen. You can do that. Now, you're asking a box. Already there are 3 boxes. You're asking to carry a 4th box.
No, not a box. I mean, like a box.
On the ballot paper.
Yes, ballot paper.
But if you don't indicate, then that means
no vote.
Okay, Ms. Susie, let's go back again, and everybody can weigh in on this. We heard in the news, and we actually had that news of the ballot boxes discovered. I mean, voter cards, permanent voter cards discovered in the forest by hunters. That's one. On the day of election, there was this picture that was going around about. It was sent to me actually. A friend sent it to me. An accident, and voter cards were flying all over the place. Could these contribute to the seeming voter apathy? We have the numbers as registered voters, but we don't see them coming for accreditation. I mean, does that add up?
First of all, I didn't see that program you're talking about, but I think
a friend sent it.
The NSDCC one?
Yes.
Yeah, the NSDCC one. They
ballot papers, not voter cards. What I saw, what I noticed, took note of were ballot papers.
Yeah, very unfortunate accident.
Yeah, very unfortunate accident. Yeah. Seriously injured.
But let's look at that.
What I was even going to say is really that we need to look at, because if we look at the number of registered voters, now there's no serious discrepancy between the registered voters and then those who collected PVCs, which is why the point they are making is very critical, because it's not as if we have a lot of dead people who are in the voters register. Because if you have 7 million voters registered, but you have 6 million who have collected PVC, it's still huge, and then you now have 1.3 valid votes. Then there's a problem, and that's where the point that you are making comes in, because it means that many of these collected PVCs don't end up with those who own them. So, and that's why it was really surprising that the number of PVCs that were discovered by those hunters. I mean, huge number. That means some people just go to those who have collected the PVC, probably, and just take it from them.
Even though Inec tells us that no collection by proxy.
Yeah.
So how do we reconcile
can't the PVCs be sent to the individuals that are registered? I mean, their addresses.
How will that be done?
There you go.
Think about it.
Let us know.
I just wanted to piggyback on Prof's point around, if you look at it, only 6,259,229 people did not collect their PVCs. Exactly, but 87 million did, and that's what you're saying. So where are those 87 million? Right? If we end up somewhere around 20-something million, and I think
voter suppression possibly.
It's a big, and I was going to make reference to 2 things. First of all, the Yaga preliminary report was very clear, and I'm sure we know that there's a systemic way to which Yaga comes up with some of this data. So there was a lot around, and I'm saying that because Malpe made reference to some of the isolated cases we saw in Lagos, and the truth is that at the end of the day, the beavers was said to have worked 90%. And then for the 9%, I believe that it didn't work, it was replaced. I think 2% of the time it was replaced, the other time it was fixed. So I think that holistically, there's evidence that the beavers worked. And I say that because even if you started late, which we know was a real issue, we had people saying it took them, I had 2 seconds, I had 5 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, I had somebody say the entire process took them 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, and then of course I heard people say it took 4 hours or 5 hours. So I just think that it's important to make that balance because, again, the polling units, and Mr. Ozi can correct me if I'm wrong here, we're supposed to have between 750 people.
Absolutely.
That's why maximum of 750 people. That's why the redistribution was done. So I think it's really important to...
No. So what I heard, and I think we can double check this, was that last minute it was 1,250 to a Beavers.
So that's...
Sorry,
1,250 voters to a Beavers, to one Beavers.
We were initially confused.
You can take that much.
No, that was how much they allocated for this particular election.
Yes.
No, I
But
think it's
then
up to
that's why-
5,000. That's a totally different, I think that's a totally, the Beavers itself can accommodate data for up to 500.
Per polling unit, I think it was the same thing.
It was
asked Mr.
1,000.
Okoye.
We asked Mr.
Initially, it was
Okoye,
750.
and he was 750
Yeah, it was
initially.
750.
But later, at the very last minute, we were told, and I still recall very vividly, that in polling units where you have up to 3,000 plus voters, they will have at least 1,250 names on one Beavers machine. That was what was said.
That's a maximum that they will program.
They loaded that maximum on each Beaver. So, for instance,
Many less than that. Some units you can't
there are units that they didn't have, but in places where they had more than that in one polling unit, they will put 1,250 names on one Beavers machine. Yes,
then there will be 2.
You're right.
Yes.
But is that a polling unit that has 1,250
plus people?
Voters?
For certain reasons, they did not split some units because of the exigencies and the
concentration.
Exactly.
So, because I know, for instance, I'm trying to quickly find that polling unit for you now. This is not something I'm cooking up in my head. It's something that was experienced by a voter who reached out to me. I eventually had to help escalate this matter to Inec, and thankfully they were able to respond much later. They had 3 Beavers machines for that polling unit. I think they had over 3,000 voters in that particular polling unit. So the Beavers that had the names for A to C was not working. And it took a very long time for that Beavers to eventually, for them to replace that particular Beavers. But you can imagine the frustration for voters whose names started from A to the letter C. That was and they usually quite
would have lost some voters.
Yes, so I mean, it is very important to interrogate, and I don't know if it's something that INEC does much later after the elections to say, yes, we conducted a successful poll. However, the reactions, but do they really interrogate further the disparity between the number of, now that we now have people who collected PVCs is the new figure we're using, and those who actually came out to vote? That's the question I'm asking.
There's an arm of Inec called the Electoral Institute, and part of their their remit is research and also training, of course, training for electoral personnel. And part of their research department is actually supposed to undertake some of the studies subject to availability of grants or something, having funds. But yes, it's an important thing. I think it's something that probably has been escalated. And they've done some rudimentary things, and I think they're going to go do more detailed things. I recall, for once, for example, in the same Lagos State, I think the TIOSA, they said, is it because of restriction of movements or inability of people to move freely? And for that particular by-election a few years back, they said no restriction of movement. They put it in a Saturday, no restriction of movement. It was lower, the turnout was lower than any other election ever conducted. That since records began. It's less than 3% of people voted to turn out to vote. Maybe because it was a by-election, it was qualified some of these things. It was a by-election. I don't know what effect allowing movement to persons had on that. But also there are lots of reasons, and I think you're quite right. A more scientific approach has to be done to undertaking to study these things, because you have things like many people who registered for convenience sake because there was difficulty in registering, and I just registered I just saw a short queue and I entered the queue and registered.
I know.
Far from my residence.
I met someone like that who had to come all the way from the airport area to to come vote because she registered while she was at work.
Yes.
So a neighbor had to drive her down to come and vote and then go back.
That took a lot. Some people will not bother. And secondly, because of the fear of the restriction of movements, and we don't know how civil the security people were that day, let me just sit down in my house. I don't want trouble, kind of a thing. So many people, and then some say they tried to transfer and they had issues with their transfers.
Yes.
So those ones also will have, they will not be able to vote. So there's a myriad of issues.
Well,
but it's something that first of all we have to study, and before we start talking of solutions, we have to study them. If it's, for example, issues of transfer, Inec must work out a way of making transfer more seamless, for example. You know, if it's a question of, I think a significant number will be affected by those registered here but cannot be here.
Yeah.
And,
well,
you know,
what do you think will happen, and how will it impact the system if we say, okay, you know what, we shouldn't use PVCs. If you have your NIN, you can go ahead and vote.
Fine, that's an interesting one. That's what some countries do. Yeah. Two things. I remember there's a committee, I think headed by the vice president of the country, where relevant agencies who have the same basic data, each has a different database. Unlike a place like the US, I think, but definitely in England, you have one central database. It makes it easy, and the data, the equivalent of the NIMSI, the Data Management Authority, takes care of everything. Now, each of these organizations, the FRSC, the Inec, population, have their own laws. Each of these laws requires them to do certain things. Inec says you can only, the electoral access, you can only vote with your voter's card where you registered.
But considering the fact that INEC law and the data management law, the identity, they came at different times.
Yeah, correct.
So can't the two of them be fused? At what point do we have the two numbers?
There are technical issues, there are legal issues, there are administrative issues that must be sorted out. And I know that committee was working before I left the commission. I'm not too sure it has been able to submit this report. Certainly, the laws have to be harmonized. Just one aspect. Administratively, things have to be done to harmonize them as well. Technically, they have to be done. Do you wipe up everything and create a new database, or you leave the database as they are, and then they'll be able to communicate with each other? That was another solution.
Well, it's interesting you say this, because I do know that even in Nigeria now, there are now attempts to harmonize the databases. For instance, you cannot get a driver's license if you don't have a NIN. You can't get a passport, an international passport, if you don't have a NIN. Shouldn't we also be requiring that you might not be able to get a voter card if you do not have a NIN?
These are some of the, how do I put it? I think